Heavy is the head that wears the crown. But how much heavier does it get when that crown is tainted? You heard right. Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the undisputed king of the NFL. But did he obtain his status as almighty ruler through lies and deceit? As Brady surveys his kingdom and observes his loyal subjects, he knows none of these players will ever touch his legacy. Maybe that's because they aren't willing to go to the lengths that he went to. Or maybe that's because they don't want to be a part of the same scandals as he was. So the question you have to ask yourself now is Tom Brady still deserving of his throne? The first major scandal of Brady's career was the tuck rule. Brady haters love to bring this one up. But first, we need all the facts. And we have to travel all the way back to 2001 to get them. In 2001, the Patriots' starting quarterback was Drew Bledsoe, and no one even knew who Tom Brady was. Due to an injury to Bledsoe, Brady came into the game as his backup. Miraculously, he started playing well pretty quickly. The Patriots' defense was also stellar, and their team kept pushing through the season, ending up being 11-5, winning the AFC East, and were the 2 seed in the AFC. This unlikely run with a backup quarterback was feeling like a Cinderella story. But were they going to get the fairy tale ending, or would the inexperienced Patriots quarterback eventually crumble? The Pats faced the 3-seeded Raiders in the playoffs on January 19, 2002. This game was in New England, and the weather was nasty. It was 25 degrees at kickoff, with 10-mile-per-hour winds and plenty of snow. To no one's surprise, it was a low-scoring affair, and when the Pats forced the Raiders to punt late in the fourth quarter, they got the ball back with just over 2 minutes left in regulation, no timeouts, and were down 13-10. On 1st and 10, Brady dropped back looking to pass. The Raiders blitzed with quarterback Charles Woodson. Woodson reached Brady, swiped down on his arm, and knocked the ball free.
Lost the football. It's on the ground, covered by the Raiders.
Brady fumbled at the worst time possible, and then Raiders linebacker Greg Biekert recovered the ball. There was nothing the Pats could do now. Out of timeouts, too little time remaining, and down by 3. The Raiders were going to advance for sure, but the play was still under review.
Quarterback's arm was going forward. It is an incomplete pass.
It was originally ruled a fumble because Brady's throwing motion began to tuck back into his body. And then the ball got knocked loose. It would be different if his arm was still moving forward. That's an incomplete pass. This wasn't. Right? Well, the refs reviewed this many times, and after a very lengthy review, it was determined under the then effective rules that that was actually an incomplete pass. The Raiders were incensed. His arm had stopped moving forward. He was no longer attempting a pass, and it was clearly a fumble. Incorrect. Initially, it was ruled a fumble, and the Raiders would have won.
After the game, when we meet at the game and we're shaking hands, Tom Brady told all the guys, I fumbled.
But now, the Pats still had the ball. And with that extra chance, they forced overtime with a field goal, and then won the game with another field goal in overtime. To top it all off, the Pats beat the Steelers next, and then beat the Rams to win their very first Super Bowl. The legend of Tom Brady began. No one thought this guy could do it, and not only did he do it, but he was just getting started. Since then, it's been an onslaught of Brady division titles and Brady Super Bowl wins in your face. Many wonder if he never got that first Super Bowl, would he have gotten the confidence to keep going? If he hadn't gotten a lucky break in the game against the Raiders, would he have just been viewed as the backup quarterback who fumbled when the lights were brightest? Would New England have gone back to Bledsoe? Not only did that call help propel Brady to his first Super Bowl, but the rule was later changed, as everyone agreed that tucking the ball back into your body is obviously not a part of a forward passing motion.
Tuck rule game against the Raiders. Might have been a fumble.
Had the rule been set the way it is now, the Raiders would have beaten the Patriots. Many haters believe that Brady benefited from a league trying to build a Cinderella story, and they don't think he deserved that first Super Bowl. If that game was played today, that call would not stand. The next scandal, however, would stand no matter what. So we all know Brady for his many Super Bowls, but what's another thing that stands out about his illustrious career? How about that 16-0 season? And what if that undefeated regular season was tainted too? That's a popular opinion still held by many. Let's talk about Spygate. This was a scandal that intrigued the masses because of its mystery.
Maybe, but the rest of the sports world is focusing on the news that his team illegally videotaped its opponent's signals.
In 2007, it was discovered that the Patriots were videotaping the signals of opposing teams, specifically the defensive coaches.
New England Patriots caught videotaping a rival team's coaches as they sent signals to their players.
The NFL rules were a bit murky, but they did make it okay for some videotaping to occur, only from specific areas. The Patriots were videotaping from their own sidelines, and that was certainly prohibited. Clearly, the New England offense, Brady included, was able to use this knowledge to their advantage, perhaps leading to an undefeated 2007 season. The Patriots were caught red-handed videotaping the Jets' defensive coaches' signals in their game versus New York on September 9th. The NFL fined the Patriots organization $250,000, and they lost their first-round pick the following year. And Coach Bill Belichick, the ringleader, was fined $500,000, the largest fine ever imposed on a coach. So clearly this was a big deal. Belichick claimed that he felt he was always operating within the rules, but Goodell said that this was a calculated and deliberate attempt to avoid the rules and give the Patriots an unfair advantage. Belichick strongly disagreed. But then why did the Patriots react the way they did when the NFL told them to surrender all notes and videotapes pertaining to filming defensive coaches? Their reaction? New England said those tapes would not be leaving their athletic facility. The brazen disregard for obeying the demands of the league. And then the story gets even more twisted. Goodell ordered league officials to go to the New England facility to not seize the tapes, but to smash them, destroying all possible evidence that could have further implicated the Patriots. What was on those tapes? And why would Goodell want them smashed, of all people? How deep did Spygate run? Goodell was heavily criticized for this bizarre move, and of course the Patriots were too. Another tarnished year on Brady's resume. The only quarterback to lead a team to a 16-0 season, the first to hit 50 passing touchdowns in a season. But did he obtain these records unfairly? Many believe so, and it seemed that so did fate, in the form of the New York Giants beating them in the Super Bowl that year. Perhaps karma does exist in the NFL. But this next one really makes you wonder how the Patriots keep getting away with it. The most recent Brady scandal, and perhaps the biggest of them all, was Deflategate. This was well beyond the other ones. These were allegations that Brady did something sinister in order to gain a competitive advantage over his opponents, deflating footballs. The accusations started to come up from multiple teams. Early reports saying that the Ravens and Colts suspected the Patriots may have been deflating footballs to gain an advantage. Originally, the home team would provide all game balls. But after many lobbied for this to change, specifically Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, the rule was actually altered. Brady and Manning felt that the quarterback should be able to use footballs that suited them. And so by 2006, each team would be able to use its own footballs on offense. However, when game officials checked the footballs, they still needed to be inflated between 12.5 psi to 13.5 psi. But there was no rule stating at what temperature the setting needed to be when the measurements were taken. So after all these claims were being made about the Patriots' game balls feeling underinflated in the 2014 season, the playoffs began, and the Patriots faced off against the Colts in the AFC Championship game on January 18, 2015. In the game, Brady threw the ball, and it was intercepted by Colts linebacker D'Qwell Jackson. Jackson handed the ball to the equipment manager after the play was over so he could keep the ball. Without Jackson being aware at all, this ball was then used as evidence for a ball being underinflated by the New England team. The game officials tested the balls and found some of the New England balls were indeed inflated below the minimum allowed, and required that they pump them back up at halftime. The Patriots later ran away with this game, winning 45-7, and also went on to win the Super Bowl that year. Many confusing reports later came out. One stated that 11 of the Patriots' 12 balls were inflated 2 pounds below the minimum. Another report said that it was only one ball that was 2 pounds under, and the others were barely under. Later, another report deemed 5 of the balls were underinflated. Another controversy swirling around Brady, and with so many contradictions, people were at arms. Were the reports even true? Which ones should we believe? Was Brady really deflating balls? Could this have all been caused by the cold January weather in New England? Or was this yet another Super Bowl Brady didn't deserve? It was eventually determined that Brady and the Pats were in fact behind this, and he was suspended for 4 games in the 2015 season. But Brady appealed this decision and was able to play that full season. However, the suspension was later reinstated for the 2016 season, and Brady was forced to sit out the first 4 games, while the Patriots organization had a hefty $1 million fine.
Were hit with a $1 million fine, which is the largest in NFL history, by the way, and docked 2 draft picks, a first-round pick in 2016 and a 4th-round pick in 2017. Now, as for quarterback Tom Brady, he was hit with a 4-game suspension without pay.
People still argue whether it could have been just due to the weather, or that cold weather couldn't deflate a football that much. Brady supporters will tell you it was the cold air, but the haters will point to a long list of Brady scandals and say this is just another one of them. He served his 4-game suspension, missing 25% of the team's games. That should have hit the Patriots where it hurt most, except karma didn't really get them that season. They made it to the Super Bowl anyway, and despite the efforts of the league to hold Brady down, he and his Pats beat the Atlanta Falcons that year. The Tuck Rule, Spygate, Deflategate all stain the legendary career that Tom Brady built for himself. You can be on either side of these scandals, but it doesn't matter. They will always be attached to Brady. This is The Gridiron.